fabulous prizes. Plus compete in
Open Your Eyes is brought to you by SMART, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina Daly.
And I am Isana Caetano. Good morning.
And good morning, Isani. We are winding down in the month of July. We're almost at the end. Tomorrow's the last day, and I know that a lot of people are looking forward to what the 8th month in the year will bring for 2024.
Indeed. Time flies so fast.
Time has flown
Before
by.
Before you know it, August is here, and I don't know about you, and I don't want to, get ahead of myself, but when August comes around, you start hearing certain kind of music on the airwaves, right? That means September is also near.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it at that by saying this as well, too, though. When you drive around on Sunday, you see all the carnival groups, already gearing up and doing their thing, getting ready.
Indeed, this is the time. As you rightly mentioned, we are flying through the year very quickly, and in August, it's kind of like the preparations for the September celebrations. Yeah. We can't necessarily start that as early as or as late as September 1st. That might be too late. So we are seeing activities taking place. Nonetheless, we're still in the rainy season. So if you're looking outside, whether you're getting ready for work or you're already at work, it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a gloomy day this morning.
Got a little bit splashed up on my way to work.
Same.
But, I take it as showers of blessings.
Yes, it was a Passover of sorts, but we will be getting an official update later on in the show. But we do have some topics to jump into this morning, Isani. I know two of them worthy of mentioning actually made it as headlines in our newscast last night. Certainly what is a buzz on social media, on the streets all over, is the state of emergency that is still currently in place. Of course, you would know the state of emergency on its own has had several different views from persons, whether they're saying it's effective or ineffective. We're seeing a different side of the state of emergency in the story of a 13-year-old that was taken up under the SOE. Now, critics are saying he may be too young to be under the state of emergency in the fashion that he is. He's currently placed at the Wagner's Youth Facility, but we were able to get a comment from the Commissioner of Police as well as Minister Dolores Balderramos Garcia yesterday.
I think where I want to begin from in terms of having this conversation is to show how heavily influential gangs are, right? Because from what the Commissioner of Police is saying, they have sort of been following this young man in terms of his involvement with gang activity and what have you. And so it's to say that at this point in time, you can get swept into gang activity from a very young age. Part of what is being argued both within law enforcement and the lay person out here is whether or not this minor is a bit too young to be placed in that kind of a facility. That's on one end. The other end is they're saying, look, this is a 13-year-old who, for all intents and purposes, is a danger not only to himself, but to other kids of his age if he's placed along with them. So until they're able to figure out what exactly they want to do in terms of being able to stage this intervention, they're holding him at the Wagner's Youth Facility. Now, when I heard of it, I immediately drew a parallel to a similar situation that happened many years ago, right? And I look at it as my case study, so to speak. In the early 90s, there was a young boy, 11 years old, who was killed in Chicago. And the name is Robert Yomi Sandifer, right? And how did I come by this particular story? So I was listening to some music. I was listening to Tupac, Me Against the World, and he kept mentioning the name. And so I just went and I looked it up way back, and I realized this young man was involved in gang activity at a very young age as well.
11 years old.
Yeah, he committed crimes on behalf of the gang. He did all of these other things, and not long after, the very group that he was a part of turned on him, shot and killed him, and that was the story at that time. This would have been circa 1994. I'm saying all of that to say this, right? If the state and the powers that be do not intervene at this particular juncture, this 13-year-old could very well fall into the system. That's on one end. On the other end, to see a 13-year-old involved in gang and criminal activity and the state doesn't intervene, that's also a bad look for our Belizean society. To say that the social safety nets would have failed the individual, right? Now, I think in all of this, we haven't heard from the parents, right? So we've heard from the Commissioner of Police, we've heard other members of society opine on the situation, but it would be interesting to find out from the mother what has brought this 13-year-old to this particular juncture.
I believe in on another media host, a statement was issued via social media by the mother, expressing that her child, like a lot of other parents, is being targeted by the police department. Whether we're able to have an actual sit down with her and ask certain questions, I don't know that has been done as yet, but she has shared via social media her thoughts on what is currently taking place with her son. Of course, she feels that her child is being wrongfully accused of being a part of a gang. Either way, I understand the caution that needs to be taken at this time. If he is a danger to himself and a danger to other young people, then of course there are actions that should be taken.
Let's step back a bit, Sabrina. In our line of work, certainly in my line of work as a reporter, there are numerous stories that we've run. There are numerous interactions that we've had with other members of society who will tell you that quite a number of these crimes are being perpetrated by minors, like little boys, right? To say that it's no secret. Now, whether or not the system is able to capture them and intervene, or in certain cases, if they're found guilty of a crime, to be brought up on charges, that's another matter. But to the average person, if you go into a particular neighborhood, they will tell you that the quote-unquote shooters are little boys that they're bringing into gang activity.
Yeah, the recruitment starts very early for a lot of these
and that's
boys.
how pervasive the system, the whole issue of gangs are.
And I think you raise an excellent point, Isani, because we oftentimes think of these mediation processes taking the stages when these perpetrators are adults, but truly we need to start from the home. We need to start from these kids, because just like the situation with Robert in 1994, he was only 11 years old. And I imagine he was committing crimes before that. The recruitment process took place before that. Of course, he was accused of committing murder as well, as young as 11 years old. And I read the article because, as you mentioned, he was killed by his own members, and apparently it was because they felt that if he was taken by the police, he would quote-unquote snitch. And that really goes to show that they start these kids from so young, but they're still not sure, or they're still not so confident in their loyalty because of the fact that they are kids. So it's a really tough place to be in. I know from us here as civilians, we want the crime situation to end. Of course, we don't want to be seeing things like kids being gunned down, but we also don't want the kids to be behind the triggers as well. So I'm hoping to see what takes place as it relates to this story. I believe Minister Dolores Balderramos Garcia mentioned last night that this is something that they will be investigating further to decide what would be the best route to take. I also saw the interview with Commissioner of Police, and I have to say, I watched his body language yesterday, and he seemed very careful in speaking about this particular case. And I think obviously it's because it's a minor involved.
It's sensitive, actually. So,
it's very sensitive. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly they're able to find a solution to go with. I do know that mediation will be heavily pursued in this. As you would know, the Commissioner of Police also mentioned that these individuals that are taken up by the SOE, they do go to the Kobe Foundation and receive extensive mediation sessions as well. But who's also headed to the Kobe Foundation is Joseph Budna, and he was also the headline of the news last night. We described him as a self-styled journalist, and he's been in the news for various different reasons. But last night he was the headline of the news in the case of abetment to commit murder. To murder. And Isani, we were having this discussion this morning because I wanted us to look at his particular case as opposed to Attorney Sylvester Salgado, who was also charged for abetment to commit murder. What would be the difference in both of these? Because they sound very much alike.
Yeah. In the case of Oscar Salgado, the charge, as you've mentioned, was abetment to commit murder, but no one actually died, right? In the case of Mr. Budna, the charge that was preferred on him was abetment to murder. In this case, someone was killed in Belmopan in July 2021, where an individual, Armando Coy Cacao, was found with his throat slashed. And while 2 individuals were initially detained for questioning in respect of that matter, it wasn't until 3 years later that they were able to bring this charge against Mr. Budna. What's interesting here, Sabrina, is the fact that he's saying, look, the state is essentially working against me because he is saying that he was doing some investigative work or something to the sort and went live from in front of the national security or one of those government buildings that deals with that. And he's saying, okay, well, perhaps it's because of that now I'm being singled out by the state. And yesterday, in the immediate aftermath of his arraignment, our colleagues from Channel 7 caught up with him, and the reporter was sort of asking certain questions, and he kind of went on a rant where he was saying, look, if I'm found dead in my cell at any point, it's because the agents of the state are carrying out this work against me.
He's saying he would not refuse to take his medication as well.
Yeah. But I mean, we've heard things like this before, right? A drowning man will grasp at any straw that he can to save himself.
Yeah.
I say that simply because earlier this year, when the Paguada brothers were convicted and sentenced, they too made all of this noise in front of the court about, you know, the state working against them as well and what have you. So this is not necessarily a unique thing where you have persons who are in detention ranting to the media. I think what makes this unique in a sense is the person involved.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, Joseph Budna, as far as I know, has had several run-ins with the law, both here in Belize
and outside.
and in Guatemala. The reason he is back in Belize is because he fled from a Guatemalan prison facility after being charged and sentenced in respect of an incident that happened there, right? And because there's no extradition treaty between both countries, once he was able to make it back into Belize safely, that was essentially the end of that for him. It's not that we were going to send him back to Guatemala to serve out the remainder of his sentence. That was essentially it. But a few years later, last year to be exact, he was in the company of a young man who was shot and killed, and they said they were in the bedroom sleeping or what have you, and then someone opened fire on the location where they were. The young man ends up getting killed. So we're simply saying that this is someone who, on the face of it, may not necessarily be squeaky clean, right?
That's one way to put it.
I mean, the police are doing their work. They've been investigating, and perhaps they've been diligent in trying to figure out what, if any, was his involvement with the murder of Mr. Coy, Mr. Coy Cacao. And that's what brought them to this point.
Let's also take a moment to look at what we have been describing him as a self-styled journalist. Now, we are not the only media house that have used this way to describe him. Essentially, we are saying that he has taken up the profession as a journalist, but in the formal state, he is not a journalist.
Yeah, well, if you say he's a freelance writer, or he's a citizen journalist, right? It may not necessarily carry the same weight of anyone who is recognized via a media house or a print outlet, if that's the case, right? So that's the reason we're describing it as a self-styled journalist, a so-called person who is doing reporting and what have you. And there are a number of them around the country, right? Whether one lends any credence to the work that he puts out, that's another matter. I don't know how recognized his work is to be credited as a fellow journalist in that regard.
Yes.
Right? What I can tell you though, if you have been following Joseph Budna on social media for the past several weeks, he's been a controversial figure on Facebook in terms of all the alleged activities he's been in. I can recall 2 weeks or so ago, an individual, got into a scuffle with him supposedly over his sexuality. And that individual was charged for hitting Mr. Budna. I can also recall seeing on social media somewhere someone also taunting him about his sexuality.
And he ended up hitting that person.
Yeah, he ended up pummeling the person as well. So I'm simply saying he's been in the media.
Yeah.
He's been quite a controversial figure in the media as of late.
Absolutely. So we saw what took place yesterday with Mr. Budna. What takes place now? Are we going to expect another court case with him, or is he?
Well, he has been formally arraigned for the crime of abetment to murder. So now the state essentially has to prove its case that Mr. Budna was in fact involved some way, somehow in the murder of Armando Coy Cacao, right? So the burden of proof is essentially on the state to say, look, we have the evidence that supports this particular charge that has been brought against you. That's a process. You know how long and drawn out court cases are when it comes to, murders and all of these other offenses.
Well, as we say, this as well, we will continue to follow.
Yeah.
Well, we do want to touch on our final topic this morning. And Desani, it is Tuesday, so you know what that means. We are going to be expecting KTV The Remix tonight. And tonight is going to be quite an interesting show. I believe this is kind of like the halfway point of the season.
I heard it's Disco Fever tonight.
It's Disco Fever. And this, like I mentioned, this is also the halfway point of the show. So we won't be seeing two persons be eliminated tonight. Essentially, what we will be seeing after tonight's show is two persons, the bottom two, be battling for their space in the show. So only one person will be eliminated, but that person will be eliminated by way of a battle round. It's going to be interesting, as we always say, as we always remind you guys. The judges, they have their say. They mention who they believe did their thing on that stage, and they give them their points. But it's the viewers, it's the fandom that they have their way by voting. So if you voted enough or you needed to put in a little bit more for your favorite, you're going to see tonight what exactly takes place in the battle round. I'm excited about the battle round as much as I know it probably brings about a lot of anxiety and nerves for the person.
I'm excited about the genre.
Yeah, but I'm excited about the battle round, Isani, because it's in moments like that you see who really wants it, you know? You put all your emotion in whatever song that you're going to battle, and you put it all on the stage in those 2 minutes, if that's how long it is. Because you have to prove to the judges, this is an instance where I think the judges, they have their way. But you have to prove to the judges that you want it more than the other. It's going to be an interesting sight. And of course, it is disco night. Do you have any favorites that you'd like to hear tonight?
I was just about to get to that. That's what I'm saying. I'm excited about the genre, right? So when we think disco, we think late 70s, 80s,
early 80s,
right? And I'm thinking about Donna Summer. I'm not sure if you're aware who the...
I wasn't born then.
Neither was I, but I love music, so
I was going to say, what were you going to do in the 70s?
Nothing at all.
Did you have open flaring pants? Did you have an afro?
The barefoot pants and the... Nah.
But
yes, I'm hoping that perhaps one of the contestants who take the stage tonight will at least venture the way of Donna Summer and give us something nice. Or perhaps the early Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, because that also falls into the whole disco genre.
I could appreciate Jackson 5, but they're also doing their first group performance as well, and that also takes place at the halfway point. So tonight we'll be able to see how all of their voices mesh together. Each week we've been seeing them do duet numbers together, but this will be an opportunity for, I believe it's 5 of them or 6 of them. They will be taking the stage as a group. And then, of course, the battle round happens after. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be really great. I keep reminding you guys, or just telling you guys, the experience that you get at the Bliss is next to none versus at home. I know there are the perks of being in your own couch or your bed, you know, with your snacks, and you watch it in the comfort of your home. But there's a different sound, a different experience that you get, Isani, when you go to the Bliss. And I have to encourage you guys. I've only been able to be at one of the shows, but I know I definitely want to be at the finals as well.
There we go.
We'll also be seeing who's going to be the guest judge tonight too. As you would know, Isani, last week Santi filled the guest judge seat, and really and truly there was no other person I think we could put in that chair for Latino night.
So my good friend Santi is his own personality too, so
he really is. So I'm excited to see who's going to be judging tonight for disco night. Of course, it all goes down at the Bliss at 8 p.m. and if you still want to purchase those tickets, you have time. You can get them here at Channel 5 on Coney Drive or at the 88 Shopping Center. Please purchase your tickets, and if you're not able to do so, you still can watch it live on Facebook as well as YouTube. But we do got to jump into the rest of our show, Isani. We have an eye-opener for our viewers. And of course, our eye-opener is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. Sometimes during our spiritual growth, we can feel as if we are going backwards. Rest assured, you are not. There are times when we feel that we are spinning our wheels in the mud in terms of our spiritual progress. This can be especially true following a period of major growth in which we feel as if we've gained a lot of ground. In fact, this is the way growth goes. Periods of intense forward movement gives way to periods of what seems like stagnation. In those moments when we feel discouraged, it's helpful to remember that we don't ever really go backward. It may be that we are at a standstill because there is a new obstacle in our paths or a new layer to get through. But the hard work we've done cannot be undone. Every step on the path is meaningful, and even one that seems to take us backward is a forward step in the sense that it is what we must do to move to the next level. In addition, an intense growth spurt requires that we rest for a time in order to fully integrate the new energies that have been liberated by our hard work. When we feel we are not making progress, we can encourage ourselves to take a moment to rest. We can meditate more, feed ourselves well, and get extra sleep. Before we know it, we will be spurred on to work toward the next level of our development. And this rest will make sense then as something we needed in order to continue. Once the sun rises, it doesn't go backward, but instead follows its path in one direction. It may appear to stand still for a moment in time, or to move more slowly at some point or another, but really, it is steadily moving forward on its path. We are the same way, and once we have moved through something, we can never really go back. We may be resting or revisiting issues that seem old, and it's natural to feel stuck. But in truth, we are always taking the next important step forward on our path.
A bit lengthy, I'll say that much. So I'll reflect on the first line.
Yes.
Sometimes during our spiritual growth, we can feel as if we're going backwards. Rest assured, you are not. So it speaks to that sense of running in place or stagnation, right? But we all experience spiritual growth as we get older. Like, it's a journey you're taking, right? So at times you may not understand yourself and your role in life, in this world, your place. But the journey allows you to manifest, allows you to start understanding, look, it's well beyond, it's very, it's deeper than what you see on the surface. It's about what happens with the soul, right? And to me, that's where the eye-opener goes. Being able to grow spiritually, being able to learn and being able to understand that there are certain stages of growth where you do feel as if though you're stuck in place.
Yeah, I was going to say
But
not
it's-
only spiritual,
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah, it's natural, right? Sometimes I feel like, you know, I'm either regressing or I'm just standing still. But in reality, my mind and my body and my soul is preparing for the next chapter, right? So it's almost like a period of rest in
Yes.
terms of spiritual growth.
Yes, and that for me was the point that I wanted to touch on. I'm glad that you spoke of the stagnation period and the fact that it might feel like we're not moving. But what I captured from this eye-opener is that that point of stagnation, or that point where you feel like maybe you're regressing, is really your mind, your spirit, your body preparing itself for the next step. And you need energy to do that. So I think this was an interesting eye-opener. I think it provided a lot of knowledges, and that was the reason why it was so long. It was trying to ensure that we got the point. Stop thinking that you're not growing. But indeed, it's a beautiful eye-opener, and I'm hoping that you guys were able to take something from it to perhaps not be so hard on yourself, because I know for us, in our own individual journeys, in our own individual life, we watch other people, and it's probably easier to see their growth, but they too are experiencing the same things that we are, and probably other individuals are looking at us and thinking that our growth is taking place so quickly. So I think it allows us to be a little bit easier on ourselves, a little bit softer on ourselves. Interesting eye-opener nonetheless. All right, but we do got to move into our weather. And as we mentioned, it looked a little bit gloomy outside this morning, but the skies are clearing up. So I'm hoping that that is what we can expect for the remainder of the day. Nonetheless, we'll be getting that official update from the folks at the Met Service.
Good morning. Somewhat moist and unstable conditions prevail over the region and will support a few showers over some areas today and tonight. The 24-hour forecast is for sunny skies with a few cloudy spells today and cloudy skies at times tonight. A few showers or thunderstorms will affect southern districts, with isolated showers or isolated thunderstorms elsewhere. Winds over the open sea will be from the east to northeast at 10 to 20 knots, and the seas will be choppy. High temperatures today will be around 88 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 93 inland, but only 80 degrees up in the mountains. The outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night is for partly cloudy skies with isolated showers or thunderstorms, except for a few more over the south Wednesday night. There is a low tide at 1:04 this afternoon, a high at 7:31 this evening, another low 11:26 tonight, and another high at 6:08 tomorrow morning. The sun rose at 5:31 this morning and will set at 6:26 this evening. The moon goes down at 2:36 this afternoon and comes up again at 1:48 tonight. In the tropical weather outlook for the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico, tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 48 hours. With that, we end this report from the Belize Weather Bureau.
All right, there you have it. Well, we have to move into the rest of our show. We have 3 great conversations to look forward to this morning. The first segment is going to be an interesting one, Isani. I don't think we normally associate having a doctor in dermatology to talk to us about prevention and treatment of sexually transmitted diseases. In our first segment, that will be the discussion.
In our second conversation, we're going to be understanding more about health insurance and why it is important for persons to, be insured.
Yeah. And in our third and final segment, it's all about the Commonwealth Scholarship 2025. You'll be finding out all the details, but of course, how you can apply. But we got to take our first break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about prevention and treatment for STDs as it relates to skin. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
My name is Waluko Mejia. I'm the General Manager at Copal Tree Lodge here in Toledo, Belize. The Belize Bank service we appreciate most is the Belize Bank ATM and the use of its debit card. It makes it very accessible for our employees here at Copal Tree Lodge. Essentially, they could access the ATM on their way home after work, and also that the local stores accept the use of a debit card.
I'm connected. Yo.
I'm connected.
We're connected.
Create the perfect broadband bundle that fits your style with Smart Connect. With the Junior Bundle, get 50% off your national calls and up to 6 gigabytes of data at no extra cost. Get postpaid added on for an additional cost of only $25 with the Prime Bundle. Stay connected with unlimited smart-to-smart calls plus 6,300 megabytes of data and free international minutes. For the family, get the Binge Watchers bundle with Netflix add-on for only $28.13 more. This bundle gives you 4 profiles with unlimited streaming on multiple devices. Visit a showroom near you to sign up and personalize your own bundle combination with Smart Connect. Smart, bringing people together.
It's the return of your favorite Tuesday night entertainment. KTV The Remix Season 6 is here. Join us for an exciting night and a chance to win fabulous prizes. Plus compete in our halftime challenge. Get your tickets for just $5. Available at Channel 5 and Coney Drive and 88 Shopping Center. Can't make it in person? No problem. Watch it live on Channel 5 or stream it on Facebook and YouTube. The fun starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 6. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
Please, Darasama Theater and Red Stripe present the 15th annual Lucky Dube Tribute and Concert. The Lucky Dube Tribute and Concert to be held at the Big Bird's Isle, Sunday, August 4th from 4 p.m. until. Entertainment includes live DVD performance of Lucky Dube on the big screen. Creek Vibration Band doing a special Lucky Dube tribute. Selectors include the Reggae Kingpin, Tony G, Reggae Dutch, and Mr. Frisco. All backed up by New Wave Sounds.
People dying like flies every day.
Sunday, August 4th, the Lucky Dube Tribute from 4 p.m. until. Entrance fee only $15. Don't forget to purchase your tickets for Dara's House Raffle. Call 623-3662. This you don't want to miss. Sponsors include Creme Radio and XTV, Vibes Media and Television, DigiWallet, Honorable Anthony Mahler and the Belize Tourism Board, Channel 7, Social Security Board, Channel 5, Love FM, Red Stripe, Players Distillery Limited, Campari, and the Angeles Press Limited.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
And welcome back. Our first conversation this morning is with Dr. Jorge Lopez. He is a dermatologist and he's here with us this morning to talk about sexually transmitted diseases and everything we need to know about STDs and STIs. Good morning, Dr. Lopez.
Good morning, guys. Good to have you as always.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's begin by first of all establishing how dermatologists come into contact with the treatment of sexually transmitted diseases. Perhaps for many of us, we're not making that connection.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, in medicine, I would say most of the time it's a multidisciplinary approach, right? So the ideal scenario is when someone comes to a specialist and that person has a problem that is maybe a little bit outside of their scope of expertise, then you would refer them, right? In our case, as dermatologists, we have been trained to treat sexually transmitted infections, but then gynecologists do as well, as do urologists, for example, right? So there's an interlap, right? But the idea is if you keep the patient's well-being in mind and as a fair thing, then you would refer your patients, right? But yes, we see a lot of sexually transmitted infections. Most of them, or some of them, would show on the skin, right? Some of them don't show, and that's a little bit of the danger, right? And I guess we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
I mean, I was telling my colleague here initially when I saw the topic, I was saying, are they sure that we're supposed to be speaking to a dermatologist? But you're right. There are cases where STDs do show up on the skin. We learn them in school. So of course, I imagine that this would be an area that in your field you would focus on as well. Let's talk about the different types of STDs that would show on the skin.
All right. So you have bacteria that would cause some sexually transmitted infections. You have also viruses and some parasites, right? Like I said, not all of them would necessarily show on the skin, but one of the most common is infections by HPV, the human papilloma virus, right? And when it pertains to sexually transmitted diseases, genital warts are the ones that we see most commonly, right? And here, there's a particularity because even if the person exercises safe sexual intercourse, the condom would not protect the entire area. And then through the fluids, the virus could get in contact with the surrounding skin, and then you would get the lesions. Right, so that's a little bit tricky there.
That's interesting.
So you're saying that a condom essentially will not protect us from an STD essentially being on your face, coming in contact with an STD or the fluids that would have the STD?
No, what I'm saying is it's condoms are I would say necessary whenever you're having a casual encounter or with someone that is not your partner. Or what I'm saying is specifically for the human papilloma virus, right? Because of the virus is in the bodily fluids. So the fluid could go beyond the area where the condom is covering. And in that way, your skin gets in contact with the virus, and then you could have the genital warts in those areas.
Okay, yes.
Right?
So here's my question. I'm thinking in my mind that if I believe that I have contracted an STI or an STD, a dermatologist wouldn't be the first person I go to.
Yeah, that's what
I'm thinking I'll go to a medical doctor who specializes in dealing with STDs and so forth. How often do you get persons who would come and say, Doc, there's something on my skin and I'm not quite sure what it is, and then you diagnose it to be an STD? How often does that occur?
Well, it's I would say it's quite frequent, right?
Wow.
And here, I think our specialty gives us a really good opportunity to also connect with the patient psychologically, because I've had the opportunity to be there with patients when they, for the first time, realize they have a sexually transmitted infection and they didn't even know.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, herpes, genital herpes,
Yeah.
right? That tends to be a very shocking one. Even though it's not deadly, it doesn't really pose a risk to your life, except maybe with the connection that if you have herpes, that makes you at risk of getting HIV, at least when the lesions are active, right? But so herpes, for example, it's a viral sexually transmitted infection that you will have for life.
Yeah.
There's no cure for it, right? So it really, when it dawns on patients, it's a heavy burden, right? Especially because they have to go back to their partners, right? And it's also a little bit tricky whenever you have. I've had couples come into my office and then one of them is exhibiting the symptoms and the other isn't. So the question immediately arises, right? And here I would like to take the opportunity to say it's not very easy to point fingers, because one particularity with the HPV and the herpes virus is that, for example, if I was to get the herpes virus today, I might not show it until months or years after. I could have my first episode, right? And by that time,
so
maybe
the virus can remain dormant for a period of time?
Actually, the virus remains in your skin. That's why you can't cure it. But what I'm saying is, if I had a sexual encounter today with a person, and I acquired the herpes infection, it might well be, and actually it happens a lot, that I'm not going to show any signs until maybe 3 years after. And then by that time, my partner might be someone else. And then the question arises, well, I don't have it, how come you have it?
You had it.
Exactly, right? So it's not easy, and we have to go through this in the office, It's very, very important that you know how to guide the persons, right? In an ideal scenario, before you would start being sexually active with someone, you would want to have both of you, like a screening for the major STDs, and then you know where you stand.
Yes.
Right? So.
Yes, I agree with that. And this really brings about an interesting conversation. I'm hoping that we're able to cover all the topics, Doc, but when we're talking herpes, I remember in school when they were teaching us about STDs and the conversation of herpes comes about, we would naturally associate it with being around the mouth area of the body, and that was why I mentioned the mouth. But I'm realizing, you're right, there are other areas that STDs can show up on. What are common areas that you find in your office that persons are questioning, what exactly is this lesion on my body? And then the results are that it is an STD.
Okay, so it varies, but to give you an example, right, syphilis, which is an old disease, right, and we call it the great imitator, because it pretty much could look like anything else. Anything on your skin, any condition on your skin you could think of, syphilis could mimic it, right? So the natural history of syphilis is that you would have a sore around the genitals. It's usually not painful, so it doesn't bother you. It stays there for a few weeks. It heals on its own. That doesn't mean that the syphilis is gone. Now it moves after a few weeks, 6 weeks or so, 3 months, it moves to the secondary stage of syphilis. And now it's going to be showing on your skin. And it could look like prickle heat, it could look like acne, it could look like anything. And it's important to know that at that stage, it's highly contagious, even to the touch. Right? So that's why awareness and taking responsibility of your sexual life, it's so important. And I hope we can share some of the awareness, and because it's not only about you, it's about the persons you will be in contact with, right? So to answer your question again, the skin could look like anything with syphilis, for example. When it comes to human papillomavirus infections, genital warts, right? There's a common scenario that it's, for men, sometimes it's hard to understand and it's a little bit uncomfortable, and that is when a heterosexual male finds that he has lesions on the perianal skin. And, you know, they might feel awkward about it because, you know, so to speak, they don't use that area, right?
Yeah.
But again, we have to go through and explain that because of the fluids, you know, gravity and stuff, the virus could pretty much present there, and that does not mean, you know, that they had anal intercourse or anything like that, right?
You'll forgive me, Doc. For some reason, in my mind, I never thought that dermatologists come across anything of that sort. So it's all new to me because I personally wouldn't have made that connection. It's interesting. So talk to us about other STIs that manifest on the skin and what we can look for. Okay.
I would like to talk to you about one of the most common sexually transmitted infections, which is an infection by chlamydia. And this one, unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily present symptoms, or if the symptoms are there, are very vague.
Yeah.
So for example, I wake up and it burns when I urine, or it hurts when I urine, or there's a little discharge through the urethra.
You might think you have a UTI.
Exactly. And then a common practice is, okay, I have a UTI, let me, in the best of the cases, maybe drink more water, but oftentimes, let me go to my cabinet. The doctor prescribed me for a pill last time, so let me take that antibiotic, right? And that's a very bad practice because when it comes to STIs, we are facing a lot of drug resistance, right, for some of the infections. And that means that eventually an antibiotic that is nowadays working won't work in the future, right? And that's something that we have seen already with gonorrhea, right? With gonorrhea, you see like a pus discharge coming out of the vagina or the urethra. And then we have had to step up the antibiotics, so to speak, right? Because the ones that were active, they're not working anymore.
Is chlamydia a type of STD that can be cured?
Yes, it can be cured, definitely. With antibiotic treatment, you can cure it. And we know that chlamydia usually comes alongside with gonorrhea.
Okay.
So what you normally do when you establish or suspect a diagnosis is that you treat them both one time. And of course, you want to treat the partner as well.
Yes.
And this is very, very important.
You've mentioned that they usually come together, but what's the difference between chlamydia and gonorrhea?
Well, the causative organ is completely different, but they happen to coexist, and in that way, the person could get both of them at the same time.
Has there been any research done on why herpes has been one of those STDs that cannot be cured?
Well, no. The thing is, we don't have a vaccine as yet. As far as I know, they're working on it. Maybe the trials are there, but it has not been successful at this point, right? So, but with herpes, you can treat the infection once you have it, and you could also take medication to actually diminish the chances of you passing on the disease. And going back to herpes and human papillomavirus or genital warts, something really, really important is the concept of asymptomatic shedding. Meaning, I have herpes, right? But I treated my herpes when the sores were there. Right now, I don't have anything. But in theory, I could shed the virus even right now, and in this way pass it on to whoever I have intercourse with, even if the lesions are there. And the same applies for genital warts.
Yeah.
If I went to the doctor and got them removed, treated, and I'm all clean right now, that doesn't give me a green light, right? I could still pass on the infection to somebody else.
Doc, are there different forms of herpes? Because in the past I've heard of herpes simplex, and then there are other ones as well.
Like the cold sore that they call herpes.
Yeah. All right, so that's a very interesting question. Before, there's herpes simplex 1, herpes simplex 2 when it comes to genital herpes. Before, we thought that herpes simplex 1 was mostly for the cold sores, right? And the herpes simplex 2 was for genital herpes. But what we have seen, because of sexual practices evolving, is that about 1/3 of the genital herpes is now being caused by herpes simplex 1, right? So even if you would do the testing and you get the type, okay, HSV1, which is the one for the cold sores, it could be genital herpes as well, right? So it's not as clear cut as we thought it was, or at least it has evolved.
And what causes simplex 1?
Okay, so it's the same herpes virus, right? But it's simply that we see it more common, the herpes simplex 1, we see it more common as cold sores. And then what happens is the virus resides on the nerves of the skin, and if you go to the key and get a lot of sun, or if your menstrual period is about to come, or if you have not been sleeping okay, if you are very stressed, all and every of those conditions would bring down your immune system a little bit. And when that happens, it gives the virus the opportunity to wake up, so to speak. And then you get the cold sore.
That is so interesting. So for me, what has stood out in this conversation so far is that when it comes to STDs that you can obviously see topically, Doc, syphilis is one that stands out as one that is very tricky to detect because it can shape-shift into something else. There are also some STDs that you, in this case, since the conversation that we're having, you don't have to have sex to acquire it. It also does not have to show up on the genital area. You can see it on different parts of the body. So what kind of caution can the general public take? Because you're making me a little bit scared now, Doc. I feel like I can't touch anybody's skin. I can't touch his arm or his hand because he could have an STD on it if it's a little like open wound. How do you give me a peace of mind now?
Well, syphilis, I would say it's a very particular case. Now, if I have syphilis and somebody touches me, excuse me, fortunately, if your skin is in good shape, nothing will happen. But if there's like a little sore or something, then that you could get the syphilis, right? Now, there are some other conditions like hepatitis B, for example. You could acquire that just by kissing, right? So there is a vaccine for that, as there is a vaccine for the HPV. Well, I don't think we talked about that. There is a vaccine for the human papilloma virus, and this is very, very important that people know, because human papilloma virus, at least some types of the human papilloma virus, have been connected to cervical cancer.
But don't they give, haven't they given that vaccine to some kids as well?
That was all the controversy a couple of years ago when they were introducing the HPV vaccine to 13-year-old girls or girls around that age.
12 to 16-year-old females, that's the idea. And then for boys, it could also be given, right? For girls, 9 to 26, and for boys, 12 and up, right? So, and that's very, very important, right? Because it does not prevent genital warts necessarily, because it's not all covering all the serotypes, but at least it reduces the chances of that female getting cervical cancer, which is very, very important.
And of course, Doc, I imagine you are encouraging everyone to go and get their tests if they would like to get a full screening of all of these STDs that we mentioned. Is there a one-stop location that you recommend for us to do that?
I would say any professional lab will definitely be able to help you with that. But the best thing is to probably go to your doctor and get guidance, as to which ones you want to screen for, right? And then you could have false positive, false negative. So make sure that you see your physician, right? And maybe don't deal with the results yourself. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, that sounds stressful. If we would like to get in touch with you, Doc, for not only conversations surrounding STDs on the skin, but in general, relation to dermatology, how can we do so?
Okay, my main office is at Belize Medical Associates here in the city. Then I see patients at St. Luke Hospital in Belmopan and in San Pedro SPUC clinic, yeah.
All right, just ask for Dr. Jorge Lopez. Thank you very much. And of course, it's always a pleasure. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, the conversation switches into understanding health insurance.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
Your favorite Tuesday night entertainment. KTV The Remix Season 6 is here. Join us for an exciting night and a chance to win fabulous prizes. Plus compete in our halftime challenge. Get your tickets for just $5. Available at Channel 5 and Coney Drive and 88 Shopping Center. Can't make it in person? No problem. Watch it live on Channel 5 or stream it on Facebook and YouTube. The fun starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 6. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
I'm connected. Yo.
I'm connected.
We're connected.
Create the perfect broadband bundle that fits your style with Smart Connect. With the Junior Bundle, get 50% off your national calls and up to 6 gigabytes of data at no extra cost. Get postpaid added on for an additional cost of only $25 with the Prime Bundle. Stay connected with unlimited smart-to-smart calls plus 6,300 megabytes of data and free international minutes. For the family, get the Binge Watchers bundle with Netflix add-on for only $28.13 more. This bundle gives you 4 profiles with unlimited streaming on multiple devices. Visit a showroom near you to sign up and personalize your own bundle combination with Smart Connect. Smart, bringing people together.
When the power goes out, life is disrupted. Be prepared and keep your home powered up with a generator from Benquip. We carry brands such as Honda, Kohler, and JCB. Schedule your installation, maintenance, and assessment to keep your generator ready and waiting to protect your family and home the next time the power fails. Stay in control of your power with a generator from Benquip. Equipment, parts, service.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're having our second conversation this morning, and as we mentioned, it's all about understanding health insurance. To have us understand a little bit more, Isani, we're joined this morning by Marcia Gill, and she is a senior insurance and financial advisor. This morning she's representing Sagicor, but she's here to impart all of her knowledge with us, of course, to leave understanding health insurance. Ms. Gill, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
So health insurance, I know that this is something that a lot of people get at certain institutions that they work at. However, there are other individuals who may choose to purchase their insurance independently. But of course, there are also people who don't have health insurance in general. What would you say is the importance of health insurance?
The importance of health insurance is being able to access the best health care that is possible, because it will make the difference between life and death. As we always say, our health is our greatest wealth. Mm-hmm. And when persons have health insurance, it enables them to be able to access the best care that is necessary.
In a lot of cases, we look at health insurance as kind of like something that wealthier people would have access to. Is this something that we are trying to change, where everyone has access to health insurance? And how can you encourage someone to do that when they're saying that, you know, it's a little bit on the pricier side?
Yes. Health insurance is affordable, very affordable. And there are many ways that persons can control the costs of health insurance. For example, you have what are called deductibles. And deductibles are your out-of-pocket that you come out before you start to be reimbursed from a health insurance. So, for example, you may have several persons, there are many persons now that are on NHI. So with NHI, you're able to get primary care. So like your small expenses, you're able to access via that route. So in a case like that, you can go with a higher deductible, and that will reduce the cost of your insurance. Health insurance is really, really affordable. I can tell you it can start as low as $100 plus per month. So it is accessible to as many persons as possible. And as you rightly said, that persons can access it via a group with their organizations, or they can access it individually. So it is something that I encourage persons to really look into.
Yeah. Are you able to explain, in the case of medical expenses, perhaps someone who's dealing with some kind of an illness, but the medical expense that comes along with the treatment is exorbitant? It's a tall bill, basically. And the fact that while he or she may be insured, the insurance coverage only takes care of a percentage of what that bill would be. Can you explain how that works?
Yes. So you have, first of all, as I mentioned, the deductible. That is your first out-of-pocket. Thereafter, you would have what is called your copay. And normally, that can range from 10%, 20%, 30%. It all depends on the type of plan that you have. So that would be what the client is expected to come out of their pocket with, right? Now, we have a plan that is called critical illness, which actually provides that shortfall for those additional expenses, because we all know in cases of critical illness, the cost of care can run in the hundreds of thousands, sometimes as much as $1 million, okay? So when you calculate what your out-of-pocket will be, it can be a lot. So there is a plan called critical illness that persons may not be aware of. And what that plan does is that it fills those gaps that are created, right? Because the critical illness, what it does is it provides a lump sum, depending on the amount that you're covered for, that will help you to defray those additional expenses that you're expected to come up with. And in addition, when you are critically ill, there are other expenses that comes up. For example, in most cases, persons travel, for example, to the region. And when you're getting care, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're hospitalized. So you could be in a hotel and going back and forth for your treatment.
Yes.
So your hotel expense is not covered by health insurance. If you're hospitalized, yes, that is covered. But if you're in a hotel, that is not covered. In most cases, we want to be accompanied. Nobody wants to go through that by yourself. So you may need to pay the expenses for you and that person while you're getting treatment. So there's all these additional expenses that come up, and that is where the critical illness plan comes in to complement the health insurance. So sometimes persons that have health insurance kind of run away with the idea, I'm good, until something like this happens, and then they realize that the out-of-pocket becomes very high. So I usually say to my clients, if you have health insurance, you need to still have some level of critical illness to complement your health insurance. If you don't have a health insurance plan, then you need to have at least some critical illness plan, to cover some of your expenses. So either way, it's an important plan to have.
For the benefit of our viewers, can you explain to us the difference between a health insurance policy and a life insurance policy?
Okay, so a health insurance policy intended for illnesses, right, to take care of your medical expenses and so forth. Your life insurance is protection, to protect your loved ones in case of death and so forth. So it addresses two different needs, okay? It's important when you look at a holistic plan to have some life insurance as well as health insurance, because as I say, they cover different needs for the client.
I want to take a look at the moment an individual decides that he or she wants to purchase a health insurance plan. What are the things that usually go into consideration from the insurance company's side when determining the rates that that individual would pay?
Okay. Well, the first thing that determines the rate is your age.
Okay.
The younger you are, the lower the cost. The older we get, our risk becomes higher, so the cost is also higher. I would want to say that persons should access health insurance before something happens, because you can't wait until you're diagnosed to decide that now you're going to apply for a health insurance, because remember, the insurance company is assessing the risk. So at that point, the chances, depending on what, of course, is the illness, the chances might be different, right? So the company looks at the age to determine the cost. They look at our, we talk about obesity a lot. So we look at your height and weight
your
ratio.
BMI, your body mass index.
So that is considered. We look at your family history. Do you have a family history of a certain illness, So all these things are considerations that a company would look at to determine the cost of what they will offer you your plan at.
Okay. So let's use an example. For instance, I come from a family that is prone to having underlying conditions like diabetes and hypertension. However, I'm as healthy as a horse, Miss Gill. I am young, I am fit, I am healthy. Would that still go into consideration?
Yes, it will still be considered. However, if you are in good health and your height and weight is in normal range, that is a plus for you.
Okay.
So It's still looked at depending on your current situation. But of course, for example, if you have this family history and then you're obese, and then you already have some other illnesses, of course, that is also considered. So it all depends on your current situation as well.
Is there a particular age where one becomes eligible for health insurance, or is there a particular age where it becomes questionable on the part of the company, the insurance company, to offer this kind of coverage? Say, for instance, can you be nearing retirement and seeking a health insurance policy?
So you can get on a plan from birth.
Okay.
As a child is born, they can come on the plan as a dependent. And this can be either on a group plan or an individual plan. In terms of the last age, the last entry age, that's usually around 65.
Okay.
So you're still, you know, if you're almost retired, you can still get on the plan. But anytime after that, you will not be able to access the plan.
Yeah.
And when you say get on the plan and access the plan, do you mean that at the age of 65, I'm able to acquire a health insurance a policy plan, but when I turn 66, 67, I would have to discontinue it, or I would simply not be able to, if I'm at that age and trying to get health insurance, I wouldn't be able to apply for it?
Once you're accepted on a plan at Sagicor, you are covered until the age of 99.
Okay.
So in other words, you're entitled for your entire life.
Okay.
So as long as you are willing to pay your premiums, you can remain covered on the plan once you're on the plan.
Okay.
All right, so hold on. So when you have centenarians, persons who reach 100 in some rare cases, what happens then?
They leave the plan. It's up to 99.
But you know, you can't say, Isani, if you reach 100, nothing will really knock you down. You know?
I'm asking because you do have loved ones, right? So you reach a scenario, you reach 100 years, right? And then perhaps there are some health complications, right? Your loved ones would say, okay, well, let's use the health insurance to cover whatever the expense are or whatsoever. So when you reach 99, then you're back on your own, essentially?
Currently, that is the situation, but I will say that things can change. Because when I entered this industry in the last 18 years, the last age to be on the plan was age 70.
Wow. All right.
Right? And recently, over the years, we have changed because people are living longer.
Yeah.
So our company has changed that to 99. So who knows, down the road, maybe it will change beyond 100.
Yeah.
So you never know.
If we see more people living in the triple digits, I'm sure there may be a possibility. So we've looked at the deciding factor of an individual getting an insurance policy from the company's standpoint, things that go into consideration from you guys' side. How do you know, though, for me, what's the right insurance policy for me?
Well,
what are questions or what would be the conversation?
Well, the first thing is the affordability, what you're able to afford. So I would do an assessment initially to see what your income looks like, what your current expenses look like, right? And then I will look at maybe your past history to see if, you know, if you have visited the doctor several times, is there an existing condition? If, for example, you have NHI, I will also consider that because, like, for the small things, you would access it through that. So there are different things that I would look at to determine what would work for you. And also I want to mention that what you start with is not what you have to end up with. Because as time progresses, you can upgrade your policy.
Okay.
And you can also downgrade. So if you bought like $1 million policy and you have seen over the years there's not much claim, you're doing fairly good health-wise, and you want to reduce your coverage, you can also do that. You could also increase or reduce your deductibles as well to kind of change your costs. So there's a lot of flexibility that you have with your policy.
You know, a lot of people tend to look at insurance or health insurance, and I think you kind of alluded to it in terms of a more responsible way to use your health insurance would be to take the smaller expenses out of pocket and allow the insurance to help you with bigger expenses. Is this because when you use your health insurance, the premiums would go up if you use it too much?
At Sagicor, that is not the case.
Okay, but is that
Right?
something that does take place?
It can happen.
Okay.
It can happen. But claims also reduces what you would have available.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like for example, you said, rightly, the small things you might want to take care of those because you don't know when that big thing will hit.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that the coverage is there.
It's like
Right?
what you said as well. Perhaps for the smaller things, you could go to NHI
Yeah,
and have
yes.
them cover that aspect. But if it's a
Yes.
major health situation, then you could
That's
draw.
where you want your health insurance to kick in.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
And
well,
you also, sorry, Sabrina, you also have what is called lifetime coverage.
Okay.
Okay.
Right? So that would be a coverage, for example, you have a lifetime coverage of say $1 million. That is what we will cover for you for your entire life. On group plans, you also have what are called renewable. So every so often you could have a 1-year renewable, a 3-year renewable, a 5-year renewable, where your benefit is reset to the original amount. So there are different plans too. Of course, the renewable would be a higher cost. Right?
So we're looking at somewhat of a band. I describe it as such, right? You have the lower end, and then you have the higher end, right? What does the higher end cover, and more or less how much does that cost?
You're talking like, for example, our $1 million plan.
Yeah.
That would cost, again, it would depend on the age of the applicant. So that can range less than $200 a month. For a younger person, I would say between the ages of 20 to 29, it can be less than $200 a month, right? And again, if you are able to go with a higher deductible, it reduces the premium even more. So it's very, very affordable. I think that, as Sabrina mentioned earlier, people think that health insurance is expensive. But over the years, we have managed to keep the premiums affordable. And by how we do that is that we encourage persons to use the region as a first stop. Because in the past, persons used to go, for example, to the US. And we know healthcare in the US is not cheap.
Yeah.
So we know for sure that in the region, for example, we're talking Mexico and Guatemala, the type of technology and the care that is provided is the same that you would receive in the US at a much lower cost. Because medical tourism has also shown that Americans go to the region to get health care.
That is true.
So if persons would utilize the plan locally and in the region, that does control the cost, and that allows us to offer the plan at a very affordable cost and make it accessible to as much persons as possible.
Does health insurance cover, and I'm only asking for the layman, right? Does health insurance cover like cosmetic procedures and stuff? Like, for instance, if someone decides they want liposuction or they want to do some other kind of procedure, is that covered within health insurance?
or braces.
Ordinarily, cosmetic procedures are not covered. However, if your condition provides a health risk, right? So being morbidly obese, you might need to do a surgery. That is health. So yes, that would be covered. For example, if person has big breasts, it can affect your back. That would be covered.
But you would have to be able to justify that.
Yes,
the doctor
that it would
have to
be a
provide.
health risk for you.
Okay.
Braces are covered. We cover them for children up to age 19.
Okay.
After that, you're not able because then it becomes really cosmetic. But children up to age 19 are able to get braces as a benefit on the health plan.
So we've been talking about the importance of healthcare and getting a deeper understanding of healthcare and how it benefits the individual or older, younger group in general. Talk to us about why we should choose Sagicor, though.
Well, Sagicor has been around forever. We are an international company with our head office based in Barbados. And we've been doing this for a long time. And I think the reason why we're still here is because we pay claims and we're there for the client and we provide what the client is paying for. So, of course, I would recommend Sagicor.
But it is a competitive industry nonetheless, right? Where you're looking at perhaps what can best be offered to someone who's interested in seeking insurance policies. How do you look at the landscape? To say, for instance, in Belize you have 5 or so health 5 or so insurance companies that include health coverage. How do you look at that landscape?
I don't believe it's 5 of us offering
No,
health insurance. Okay, yes. Well, I like to tell clients, shop around. Look at what all the companies are offering, and you decide what you believe would be the best fit for yourself. Because it's an important coverage. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable. You want to make sure that when the time comes that your claims will be paid, because that's really when
when it matters.
That's when it matters.
Yeah.
So you want to look at the history of the company in terms of their payment for claims. You also want to make sure that your advisor, who you align yourself with, that you're comfortable, because in situations of illness, you want somebody that you can trust, and somebody who understands and empathizes with what you're going through. So you also want to be very comfortable with your advisor.
And if people are shopping for an advisor, they already are seeing one right here with us.
My final question for you, Marsha. How do you allay the concern or dispel this notion that when it comes to any form of insurance, right, they are on you to make the payment on a monthly basis or whatever the arrangement is, but when it's time for you to be able to collect on the insurance, you have to jump through a lot of hoops and hurdles to be able to collect on that. And I think it discourages many people from being able to sign up for any form of insurance coverage. How do you dispel that notion?
I don't believe it's jumping through hurdles. It's just processes that we need to go through. And there is certain documentation that needs to be provided for us to process a claim. As I mentioned before, my company has been around from 1840. And I would want to say for sure, if we were not paying claims, we would not be here, because the word would be out there, right? So I don't want that to be a deterrent for persons not to have insurance, because insurance makes a difference in our lives. It makes a difference in case, like the health insurance, it makes a difference whether we get the health care that we need. In case of life insurance, it makes a difference of what type of lifestyle our family will continue to have if we're no longer here, So I would not want, I think it's a myth, because in most cases, claims are paid. Sometimes when these things are discussed, the whole story is not shared. Because we know that they don't tell you about the good things. We'll always hear about the bad things. But I would want to stand behind the insurance industry, and I would want to say that we do pay claims, and we do pay them on a timely fashion.
All right. Well, if anyone is interested in reaching out to you, Ms. Gill, to inquire about purchasing their first health insurance plan, or making the switch from one company to another because you were convincing enough that they wanted you as their advisor, how can they reach you, or do they have to contact Sagicor?
They can reach me directly at 615-9190 or Marsha_Gill at sagicor.com. They can also find me on Facebook, and they can contact any of their agents at Sagicor if they have an existing agent.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to having you here again. Perhaps we could make this a thing, educating us on certain topics insurance-wise.
Definitely, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, the conversation switches into the Commonwealth Scholarship 2025.
When the power goes out, life is disrupted. Be prepared and keep your home powered up with a generator from Benquip. We carry brands such as Honda, Kohler, and JCB. Schedule your installation, maintenance, and assessment to keep your generator ready and waiting to protect your family and home the next time the power fails. Stay in control of your power with a generator from Benquip. Equipment, parts, service.
It's the return of your favorite Tuesday night entertainment. KTV The Remix Season 6 is here. Join us for an exciting night and a chance to win fabulous prizes. Plus compete in our halftime challenge. Get your tickets for just $5 Available at Channel 5 and Coney Drive and 88 Shopping Center. Can't make it in person? No problem. Watch it live on Channel 5 or stream it on Facebook and YouTube. The fun starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 6. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
The Social Security Board, in collaboration with the Labor Department, takes this opportunity to remind insured persons of the requirements for compensation when on sick leave. Any employee who has worked with an employer for at least 2 months is entitled to 16 working days of sick leave with full pay every year. This is how it works. Upon approval of a sickness or injury benefit claim by SSD, 80% of the employee's weekly insurable earnings is paid as a Social Security benefit, and the difference in the employee's salary is paid by the employer. This is to ensure that the employee does not suffer any loss of wages when ill. After 16 days, compensation for sick leave is paid as a Social Security benefit only. Some conditions apply. This message is brought to you by the Social Security Board and the Labor Department. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Hi, my name is Lincoln Fowers and I work at UMall. 100% I will recommend Belize Bank mobile banking to everyone because it saves time, money and gas price, because gas price is high right now. Belize Bank mobile banking just make life easier.
Your favorite Tuesday night entertainment. KTV The Remix Season 6 is here. Join us for an exciting night and a chance to win fabulous prizes. Plus compete in our halftime challenge. Get your tickets for just $5. Available at Channel 5 and Coney Drive and 88 Shopping Center. Can't make it in person? No problem. Watch it live on Channel 5 or stream it on Facebook and YouTube. The fun starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 6. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
Welcome back. We're having our final conversation this morning, and as we mentioned, it's all about the Commonwealth Scholarship 2025. We're here to talk to us about the scholarship is Ms. Sandra Diaz-Cadle, and she's the Training and Development Director with the Ministry of Public Service. Also joint Ministry of Public Service, Constitutional and Political Reform and Religious Affairs. A long ministry, but yes, you do your work there. And joining her is Mark Wallace, and he is a forensic analyst. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, the Commonwealth Scholarships 2025. Let's talk about the scholarship, what it aims to achieve, the type of degrees that you get through the scholarship as well, because it's for masters, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
All right, good morning, radio listeners. And you all, thank you for being here. The Commonwealth Masters Scholarship is a UK scholarship opportunity, and it's for a master's degree, the scholarship that we are responsible for, because they are for different types of scholarship. But the Commonwealth Masters Scholarship is, this ministry is the national body to nominate persons. And so when we look at the Commonwealth Scholarship, it's focused on developmental themes. Okay. Yes, and so when we look at those developmental themes, we look at the science and technology for development. We also look at strengthening health systems and capacity, and strengthening global peace, security and governance, strengthening resilience and response to crisis, access to inclusion and opportunity, and promoting global prosperity. So these are the 6 themes under which the scholarship prioritize areas. And so within those themes, applicants can look at any sustainable goals that can be addressed through these themes and develop their plan of study based on that. And so, of course, they can go into more specific areas, but it must be linked to one of the themes. In order to qualify for the scholarship, they must be a Belizean, a naturalized Belizean, you know, also with refugee status. And
that's great.
Yes, that is provided as well. And they also must be able to complete their bachelor's degree by September of 2025.
Okay.
So even if they're studying right now, you know, they can apply knowing that they will be completing, because we look at those transcripts and see how the grades were looking leading up to.
So you have to be able to study a program or acquire a degree that would align with these themes that you mentioned.
Correct.
Does that take place in the application process, that you'd be able to justify that this program that I'm studying falls in line with this theme, here's why?
Ooh, that's a major part of the application process, and that's the reason why I always try to bring past recipient to stress on that, because that is a weak area.
Okay.
All right, that part of the application requires that you do your research.
Yes.
All right, the Commonwealth Secretariat, they want to see that in-depth application, knowing that you know fully well what you plan to do when you return to Belize.
Yes.
Right, and sorry.
Yeah.
And so with that, I told Mr. Wallace, I really want him to stress the importance of that detailed plan of study, and it's a work plan, and they provide you with an opportunity for 3. You can identify 3 areas, of course, by priority.
Okay.
And you have to justify all those 3 areas. So I'm glad that you all gave us this opportunity, because we want to really start promoting the program at an early stage.
Yes.
How long has this program been around in Belize in terms of its opportunities for students to pursue masters?
Okay, the opportunity has been around from CSEC from in the 1960s.
Wow.
In Belize, I'm not quite familiar with when it started in Belize, but I know the opportunity is from the 1960s.
Yes. So we have Mr. Mark Wallace here with us, and as I mentioned, he is a forensic analyst, but this morning he's here to talk about his experience acquiring the Commonwealth Scholarship 2021. Now, Mr. Wallace, let's talk about your application process that you went through, and what theme did you align your studies with?
Thanks, and good morning again. So I actually applied in 2019. I was shortlisted by the ministry just before the COVID pandemic, and unfortunately I had to defer for a year. So that's why I ended up going in 2021. But my application was, being a forensic analyst, was centered around that theme. So I actually work in the firearm section of the National Laboratory. And of course, my application focused on that. So looking at science and technology and strengthening the judicial system, looking at peace and justice and strong institutions. And like Ms. Sandra said, one of the main things that applicants need to look at is having that plan of action, a plan of study, and kind of tying that into your application. You get a much better response when the assessors, they can see that flow of what you've done, what you've studied, and what you want to study and what you want to do. Because ultimately the scholarship is about development, coming back home and strengthening our country. So if you can demonstrate that, then you stand a better chance.
What was that experience like for you, Mark, in terms of being able to study under this Commonwealth scholarship opportunity and be able to come back to Belize and transition back into work?
It was an excellent opportunity. Getting to visit and live in another country, getting a world-class education, experiencing different cultures, and I think most importantly, the ability to network, to meet people in your field, to experience different institutions that might have better technology than we have back home. I mean, a highlight of my experience was visiting the firearms lab in Leeds in the UK, and actually getting to see their firearm reference collection. We don't have, well, we kind of do now, but we didn't have one before in Belize. But to see their collection of about 20,000 plus firearms, it was, it's very interesting.
I think you might have also had a unique experience knowing that was still in the time of COVID-19. Was that experience also unique in the UK, knowing that we were still very much cognizant of COVID being in our presence?
Indeed, there was a lot of regulations still in place. Wearing masks, the vaccines were still a thing. You had to have your vaccine to travel, to move about. But the institutions, my university in particular, they did a good job at accommodating students. So in instances where people couldn't make it to class, they did a kind of like a split session where you would have live session in class, but they will also stream via Zoom. So they made it as accommodating as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
With your knowledge and your degree in the area of study that you pursued, how do you feel as a Belizean coming back and being able to give back to Belizean society in the capacity that you're serving?
It's a good feeling. I was working in forensics for about 7-8 years before I applied. So it was always my intention to come back and just continue the work. I think that makes it a little bit more worthwhile because especially if you have a family, going away to study for a year, it's a big sacrifice. So you want to be able to make use of it and make it worthwhile. And there's nothing more rewarding than coming back and giving back to your country. So.
For a lot of people, Ms. Sandra, taking that step and going outside of the comfort of their home country, it's a really big decision to make. And you want to know that you're able to rely on the scholarship or the grant or the funding to not only allow you to pursue your education, but to do so without the stress of finances and lodging. Is this something that is provided in the Commonwealth Scholarship?
I must say, and again, Wallace can talk about this, but this is a very lucrative scholarship opportunity. It basically provides you with everything, including if you wanted to take a dependent, or somebody that the scholarship opportunity provides opportunity for a diverse audience. And so even if you have any kind of disability, they support applicant with that. And we're asked not to deny anybody because of that, because they provide that special support for them back in the UK. So it's very lucrative in terms of the tuition, the lodging, even in terms of stipend that they get. I know if they want to pursue or to look at research papers, etc., they're also provided with resources to do so. So it's a very lucrative opportunity. And I know while we're talking on this, I also need to address the importance of recipient. When they get this opportunity to take advantage of it, because we have had opportunities where persons have been selected, and then, like you said, I don't want to leave my home. I have resources, I have my farm, I have etc. But these are things you need to consider before.
And they come once in a lifetime.
Correct. And so it's sad when somebody is selected and then they don't take advantage of the opportunity. One, because it's a competitive process. In Belize, we only get to send 2 nominations. And even though we send 2 nominations, it's not guaranteed. They have to compete with persons in the entire Commonwealth.
So how does the shortlisting process work here then? Because if you've identified the fact that only 2 nominations are sent from Belize, then I'm assuming that persons from across the country are sending applications for you guys to vet. How does that process work?
And just to backtrack a bit, we have all applications go through the CSE portal. It does not come to us again.
Okay.
Because it makes the process so much easier for applicants. Because prior we had a 2-way. You had to apply through the portal and then you had to send your application to us as well. It created some confusion because we would get application. The portal would not have application. or the portal would have application. We would not have all the application. So we decided to simplify that. So they apply through the portal, and then the CSEC would send all the eligible to us who meet criteria. And normally, all of them do. So when we look at shortlisting, one, we need to look at your academic status. So for example, for this scholarship, we look at persons with a bachelor's degree and a minimum of a 3.0. But if we get a lot of application, those 3.0 might become in problems. Especially on the higher end, and when you look at other factors that are involved. So that's one of the things, that's one of the first things that we look at, their academics, because it is an academic scholarship. All right. Secondly, we also look at the plan, right? Their plan, and to look at, is it something that is thorough? Have they done their proper research? You know, is it cut and paste? You know,
is it ChatGPT?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things at the shortlisting stage that we have to do, and then we go into the interviews. And we don't care if we have to interview everybody once they have passed those, you know. But at the end, we need to make the decision. Another thing with the CSC is that they want us to consider gender, right? Again, which is a challenge for us, because some year we have females hiking up the selection process in terms of our first, second, and third are females, you know, and then males go down at the bottom. Last year it was the reverse. We had our males topping, and so that's one of the things we always have to be in dialogue with the CSC, because it's really a sensitive area for them that they really would prefer a male and a female. But we have to ask, do we get a male and a female at the expense of, if the male come in fifth, we bring him up? And so those are, so we currently maintain our top two. If it's two female, if it's two males, or if it's a male and a female.
You just go with the
but
strongest.
we go with the strongest, because we know that they have to compete in that pool coming from the Commonwealth. So far we have been very good in at least getting one of our persons selected. The year with, I think Kristen was here last year, and Laura, and, you know, that year we got 100%, both that we submitted, and we have had 100% for many of our submissions.
Is there a total number of recipients across the Commonwealth on a year-on-year basis? So for instance, are there like 50 scholarships across the Commonwealth for persons to go and pursue their education in the UK? Or is it to say, well, it's a smaller number, so it's a tighter pool of candidates for this scholarship?
Yes, I'll go back again to state that under the Commonwealth, the CSEC, there's different categories, like you would have, for example, person not willing to come through us. There's also the taught masters that is on the platform, and I encourage applicants and students and persons wanting to pursue to go on the platform, because you will, even for PhD, there's a lot of scholarship opportunities. Actually, I don't have a specific number for you, but I know that it's a large pool, and so for Belize we are only 2. Some other countries they can send 3 nominations, right, depending on, but it's a large pool of opportunities for.
Is there an age gap on the scholarship itself? Do you have, you can only be this young or this old?
No discriminating factors, however we would instill, because for us we look at our productive sector, you know, and what they can contribute. Another thing I need to share is, Wallis is from the government of Belize, but this is not a GOB only. This is open to the entire Belizean community, and so persons can apply from the private sector as well. Last year recipient, Mr. Ian Kawich, you know, he is from the private sector when he got selected. Actually, he was supposed to be here with us, but he has a current commitment with his work, with, again, a meeting in the UK via Intet. So the opportunity is open to all, but it's open to all persons who are focused, know exactly what you want, because in the interview, you'll be, of course, some will slip, like I shared earlier, you know, that person got selected. Another thing, it's a face-to-face. You must go to the UK. We have persons who apply, but they only want online. That's not the scholarship for you.
Well, let's talk about the application process. For persons who might be viewing and are convinced that the Commonwealth Scholarship is for them? How do they apply, and what is that process?
All right. One of the first things they need to do is to apply, and I encourage that they do this simultaneously. There's a list of universities that have a partnership with the commission because they offer a discounted rate, etc. So there's a partnership, and so there's a list of universities. If they go on the platform, I cannot state the link here, right? I would have hoped that this was able to display online, so I had shared that, right? But yes, if you go down to the link, there's a link that you can go to look at the list of universities that falls under this program.
That link right there that is currently on
yes,
the screen.
You would go, yes, and then you will apply to to the university, right?
So you must apply to the university first.
Because that becomes a part of the application process.
Okay.
They will ask you which, and I encourage you to apply to more than one. You have the opportunity of applying to like 3.
Yeah, it asks for up to 3 selections, so you can send in applications to multiple universities. Of course, you do your research first and see which ones are for the most relevant program to what you want to do. But you apply to 3 of them, and you don't have to get your response before you start the application.
Okay.
So you can start the application, like Ms. Sandra said, while you're applying to the universities, but you have to have at least selected those universities because you have to indicate them in the application for the scholarship.
So you identify up to 3 universities that you potentially would like to attend, and that is done with the application process itself. What happens after?
Okay. So then after that, after you have applied to the university, you then go and apply through the portal when it opens. It's not open as yet.
Okay.
Right? And so you go and you apply into the portal. Of course, there's a lot of support. So they would, again, if you go down, you will see another link that they ask you to go to so that it guides you through that process. All right? And then you go into it's not difficult, and you can save because you don't have to complete you don't have to complete it right away.
So you can take your time.
You can take your time. If you notice that a question is asked that maybe you did not research well, you can save and you can come back to the process. Correct, right, Wallace?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So it gives you that, but you must be focused. You must know what you want. You must know where you're getting your information from. As I said earlier, the portal is not open as yet. It will be open on the 10th of September.
Okay, we still have time.
Yes, it will be open on the 10th of September. However, that is UK time. Remember, for Belize, we want to encourage persons to get in their applications from the 9th of September.
Okay.
Okay? And then it closes also on the 15th of October. So you have a wide window of opportunity from now until the 14th. I always subtract a day due to the time for them to apply.
My final question for you, Mark, is how has this experience and having acquired your graduate degree helped you in your professional life as a forensic analyst?
So I did the Masters in Forensic Science at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow, Scotland. And they really give you all the tools and techniques necessary to go out there and be successful in the field. It kind of complemented what we were already doing here at the National Forensic Science Service. For me in particular, I did my research focusing on what I did at the lab. So it kind of gave us that additional step to kind of improve on what we were doing, to kind of fine-tune our processes, reduce turnaround times in a bit. And of course, being a government employee, there is a slight financial component. So attaining a master's degree grants you 2 increments on your current scale. It's not a lot, and it's certainly not the motivating factor, but it does help. It also opens the door for the possibility of promotions, when other opportunities come about. So it really gives you the tool set that you need to then go out and be successful.
And how long is the program?
It's a year.
1 year.
It's a 1 year taught masters. And just to backtrack a bit also with the process, we talk about the portal. After they have included that on the portal, then those shortlisted will get a notification from us, right? And one of the important things for the candidate to understand that we have no control over the process once it leaves us. And so even for results, we have persons calling, oh, did I get shortlisted? We are not in the position to share, all right? All communication comes from the CSC, and so results are between the period of January to June of 2025 is the waiting period for them.
Well, that's quite a wait,
yes.
But I'm hoping that whoever is deciding that this is something that they want to pursue, they would have already made that decision and decide what exactly they want to say in their application as well. All right. Well, we wish them all the best. And as you mentioned, the timeline does open on September 8th.
9th. Well, I would say 9th because it's 10th for, it opens on the 10th.
Okay,
10th
so
of September.
9th Belize time.
Yes.
9th. And then you have roughly a month and some days because it closes on October
15th. And then I'm saying get in your application.
The 14th. All right.
Oh, correction. We said it opened on the 10th of September. I think it opened on the 11th. It would be the 11th for us, right?
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We hope that individuals who are interested in this can take advantage of that. If they would like to ask any questions, can they contact either of you by any contact number, whether phone number or email?
The contact information is the Training and Development Unit within the Ministry of Public Service, and they can contact us through the CEO's secretary, ceo.secretary@mps.gov.bz, or my direct email, which is sandra.cadle@mps.gov.bz.
All right.
Yeah, and I just recommend that they check out the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission's website because it does have frequently asked questions, and you could find answers to most of the questions that you would have right on the website.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for stopping by, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, too.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we wrap things up.
Leomar Langsert, and I'm a teacher, and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is the safety features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer. With these online that Belize Bank offered is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Iowa, the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Iowa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Iowa, and for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Iowa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Iowa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
It's the return of your favorite Tuesday night entertainment. KTV The Remix Season 6 is here. Join us for an exciting night and a chance to win fabulous prizes. Plus compete in our halftime challenge. Get your tickets for just $5. Available at Channel 5 and Coney Drive and 88 Shopping Center. Can't make it in person? No problem. Watch it live on Channel 5 or stream it on Facebook and YouTube. The fun starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 6. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize.
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't leave this plan. I can't leave this plan.
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. We had 3 great conversations this morning, Isani, and of course we want to say thank you to all of our guests who stopped by, but a special thank you to you guys for tuning in with us. It is July 30th.
Yes, indeed.
We are winding down, guys, but if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to you. We want to remind you to tune in to KTV tonight or stop at the Bliss with us. Join in on the fun and watch Disco Night tonight at 8 p.m. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can send us an email at oye@channel5believes.com. You can also catch us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, as well as Instagram at OYEBelieves. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do us a favor and join us again tomorrow as you open your eyes.
To start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
And your hearts open.
have a wonderful Tuesday.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by Smart, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.